Fragments of silicon, guaranteed to not be a transmission vector for 99% of all diseases.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me as always is the regular crew. Let's get to the news. Let's see. Betty Fan, you're starting us off this week because, well, things happened.
Alright, well, the biggest thing was yesterday we had to take my youngest cat, Noise, to the vet because apparently there was, blood in her urine and she was having trouble urinating. Turns out she has a UTI and some sort of infection in her butt. So we got antibiotics for her. She seems to be doing better now. And we bring her back in 2 weeks.
That's good.
Mm,
As good as that situation can be, I
yeah.
suppose.
And then as far as other stuff, not a whole lot's been going on. Just kind of waiting for the birthday next Thursday.
Mhm.
Yep. And as far as gaming goes, I picked up Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition because it was like $15 at Best Buy.
Neat.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember actually finishing the 360 version, but since the Definitive Edition has more stuff in it.
Yeah, that based off the PlayStation 3 version.
Mm-hmm.
Now, over here.
Yeah, and then I think that's it from me.
All right, then. Twilight, why don't you regale us with your week?
All right. At work, just about everybody's wearing masks now, including myself. We was given some cloth masks at first, but then one of our coworkers is a relative, grandmother or aunt or something like that. She made some much better masks for us to start wearing, and now I'm wearing that one, and um, so far so good. Nobody seems to have gotten sick, and let's see here. We'd got some new equipment in, new freezers and milk coolers in this week, and just about everything is finished with the remodeling. We're still waiting for the Starbucks to be installed, so to speak. And uh, let's see here. I got my stimulus and in terms of gaming, I'm still playing the Final Fantasy VII remake. Slowly making progress on that, and that's it for me.
All right. Well, Alex, it's your turn. Alex?
Unless it disappeared.
Yeah, no, I just had my mic off. Today was got my new computer for work today at work, so that was nice. Took a chunk out of my otherwise what I would have been doing, but the new one works way better than the old one did, so
Mm.
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Also, today was Administrative Professionals Day, and they gave me a $30 gift certificate for Otto, which is a pizza place, so that's nice.
Nifty.
Mm.
It's the place that you.
Indeed. Mm.
Video game wise, decided to pick up Baba Is You the other day because I'd been thinking about it and I never actually played it, so some of it's been spoiled for me, but I figured I'd still give it a spin.
Right. I saw the Game Maker's Toolkit episode on it.
That was part of why. That was like the third time it came up in like 2 days, so I decided I might as well get it.
Fair enough.
Also, I think that Trials of Mana on the Switch comes out at the end of this week, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, Trials of Mana is like out this Friday, I think.
I think
Yes.
so.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm hearing me specifically echoing from someone else, and I don't know who or what that is.
I couldn't tell you.
It's not me.
Not me either.
I think it might have stopped, so we're probably good.
All right.
Alright. Anything else to report this week?
That's about all, really.
I mean, I suppose it's over to me. Well, let's see. I mean, my sphere, no news is no news. Like, just kind of dealing with the coronavirus as it, goes. I mean, I had the roof looked at today because some leaks showed up. Apparently needed a new sealant.
Mhm.
Hopefully that works. Well, it's also apparently we were having a problem with the wind. Like the wind was blowing up shingles and allowed like leaves to get in there, and they weren't, So that's why some new leaks showed up. Like, looks like that's all taken care of. But it hasn't rained since the discovery, so
That will be
we'll
the
see
true
how-
test.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. In show news, let's see. We are looking to do the Star Trek recording on this upcoming Monday. Looks like that's going to happen. In that day is compatible with Mac's scheduling, and it's gonna be interesting because thinking about it, it's been a while since we've actually spoken, so to speak, face to face with Mac. Like, I honestly can't remember when his last appearance on this show was, and it's been a while. And hopefully that will happen smoothly next week. Admittedly, the way it's structured is a bit different than what we're used to. We're used to doing things live, so to speak, but this is going to be pre-recorded, and also I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do, how to keep everyone in sync and stuff, but I suppose that's stuff to be that'll be worked out, when that happens. Let's see, gaming. This week I've been playing Assassin's Creed, the first one. It's actually the only Assassin's Creed game I own because I refuse to touch Uplay, and the first one doesn't have that. Like, playing through it, I can see why nobody's favorite Assassin's Creed game is the first one. It's like it's kind of empty as far as open world games go. Like, even for the standards of the time, like, your average Grand Theft Auto game was doing so much more. And it's also the first game. It's kind of ropey. Like, it's got some design and control issues that I presume have been, iterated out of. At least I hope they have. Like, some of the parkour stuff just really was stroppily implemented, let's say. But anyway, so that's pretty much how my week has been going. So, and I think that's about it for the news. So, merrily, we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast, and I'm pleased to report that we do have an interview happening this week after 2 weeks of coronavirus cancellations. Anyway, this week we have Chris Lavina of the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild.
Hello.
Hello. It's good to have you on the program again.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah. It's just last time we had you on the program, it was, how do I put this, in a different life, so to speak.
Yeah, I was with Tiny Build,
Mhm,
and I think that was over a year ago. So I transitioned over to Quantum Astrophysicists Guild,
mhm.
and I'm still in publishing. So same world.
Oh, it's good that that worked out for you. And yeah, we have we previously had the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild's Ty Taylor on the program a few years back, around the
Ooh,
time that Tumblestone was in development.
yes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, the game that I understand that you've been principally focused on in recent times is a title called Round Guard.
Yes.
And we do have it playing here on the screen, but for those who might not know what this game is, what is Round Guard?
So Round Guard is a cute, bouncy dungeon crawler. To ultimately break it down, it is like it's Peggle meets Diablo.
Not the craziest roguelike mix I've ever encountered. That's still
No,
Tumblesteed.
it is not.
Yeah, but it's still off kilter as far as um, combining roguelike with things.
Yes.
Now, but let's see. I suppose my first question is why Peggle? Why mix roguelike or roguelite or roguelike light with Peggle of all things?
So I know that the developers, which is Wonderbelly,
Mm-hmm.
uh, really, I mean, they just enjoyed Peggle,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to do something very very unique. So this is what they come up with, which was Round Guard.
It's definitely unique. I'll give it that. I mean, honestly, and kind of shockingly to me, there haven't been many games that have aped Peggle. Like,
No, that's one of the things is that Peggle is in of itself a game type. That is why we say, oh, it's Peggle meets Diablo, because you say that and people automatically know what you're talking about.
right, it's your standard X meets Y
Yeah.
pitch. Like, anyway, now apart from the roguelike stuff, which we'll get into in a minute, has there been any variations or twists or what have you with the like actual Peggle part, like the shooting the balls at the orange pegs dealy?
No, it's mainly it plays very similar, to Peggle. You have your board where you have your individual pegs, and you angle from the center of the screen, top center, and you launch your character into the board, and physics takes over. As well as once you are getting to the end of the stage, it has that like Peggle moment where like it slows down you hitting like the last enemy, and then like a bunch of effects occur, and it's a joyous time in my opinion.
Does Ode to Joy play at the end of a round?
No, 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 no. That would be a pretty expensive purchase to get that in the game.
Also, a nice
It
talk with
depends.
legal.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. Like, but that would be going into the nuances of copyright discussion. Uh, the,
Yes.
the song itself is free. It's the composition and uh, the actual playing of it that's the issue there. But anyway, so yeah. So now, when we say a roguelike has been infused with Peggle, what does that constitute exactly? What elements of roguishness have been attached to this?
So there is the permadeath kind of per run, where you start off, you have your singular goal to get to the end of the dungeon, and throughout you pick up some new abilities as well as equipment, and you have a singular life. You just go through it. You encounter different enemies in different, areas, and at the end, when you reach the end of the first dungeon, you get to the second one, and then throughout, if you make it through all three dungeons, you get relics unlocked, as well as a certain trinket is taken with you on the next run.
So you've got permanently upgradable powers.
Yeah, throughout your playtime, you will, like, right now you guys are playing as the rogue. So at the end of every level, or specific like levels that you go to throughout the actual dungeon, not level, stages, you can unlock different abilities. So right now you have the double jump. Throughout, you can find upgrades to the double jump, where every single time you do a double jump, a poison dagger flies out and attacks the nearest enemy. Or with the rogue, you can throw out a smoke bomb and you can go through it. So there's a variety of abilities per character. You know, you have the rogue, you have the barbarian, and you have the wizard,
Mm-hmm.
and each have their different play style. Like the rogue is very agile and versatile in its attacks, but it doesn't do as much damage as the warrior, which has more health, but yet it's mainly a in your face hitting while also taking damage. The rogue can deal range damage as well as close up damage. And then you have the wizard, which is basically a glass cannon.
Hmm. And are those the only three classes in the?
Yes, right now those are the three classes in the game.
Okay, you use the words right now. Are there more classes planned?
I mean, at this moment, I don't know. We're just the developers and us, we're making sure that it is supported on consoles. It's getting the updates it requires, and just overall giving the fans of the launch what they would want, and keeping it in the public's eyes.
Fair enough. And see, how long does your average dungeon run last? Like.
So yeah, when I was playing it throughout development, I would see that, like, the entire dungeon, like all three, or just clearing the first board, because all three usually took me about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the routes that I would take, as well as like the builds that I would try to achieve. But a usual dungeon clear, if you have no relics on, if it's like your first time playing, will take about 15 to 20 minutes per area. And once you get accustomed to the game and like what you want to do, you'll know which routes you should take. Like right now on screen, the leftmost tunnel that you can take will take you directly to a boss, which that boss will actually give you a specific gear item that will help you throughout, such as whenever you hit the cushion at the bottom that's constantly moving, you get X amount of health back, and so on and so forth.
Uh-huh.
So each individual run will take roughly 15 20 minutes per board, and there's three boards.
Okay. About what I expected. Now, since Peggle isn't a long game, even in
Yeah.
original form. Like, now in terms of the elements of randomness, does that apply to like the boards themselves?
Yes.
Like, so when you start a new stage, it'll be a different arrangement every time.
Yeah, it will be a different arrangement every time. There are enemies and tile sets per board layout. So, once you actually clear a dungeon for the first time, at the end of each individual dungeons, a specific new thing will occur. Like once you defeat the alchemist in the first dungeon, you they unlock they unlock oh my god, I'm trying to think of what it is, because that's a health vial. Yeah, a potion. Different types of potions that will have positive and negative effects that will carry through the rest of your playtime. So if you were to die after the first dungeon, the next time you start up, you will have those within the game, as well as the enemies that come from the second dungeon and the third dungeon will not populate the first.
Hmm.
So the
And
more you play and the farther you get will build upon the things that you will see on the areas that you encounter.
like, what kind of foes do you fight in these dungeons, and what can they do to your ball, if anything, or your cannon, or
So right now, they can't do anything to the ballista, but each individual enemy right now. So you're facing. We've encountered rats and spiders now. So the spiders, if you attack them and hit their head, they will poison you. But if you attack their body, you will get no poison and you won't deal that much damage. But every single time that you hit an enemy, they will do X amount of damage, such as right now, if you do hit the spider, it will do you 15 damage and has 40 health,
Mhm.
while you do 18 damage every single time you hit them. But they also have poison bite. That is their like distinct ability.
I'm assuming poison works like, well, poison usually does.
Yeah, so it'll, if you look at the top left, you will see that you have a bubble above your character that says 15. So you have 15 poison, which will hit you for 15 for a certain amount of turns. I'm pretty sure it's 3 for poison.
Hmm. And are there any other status effects in this
Oh
game?
yeah, there's enrage, there's poison, there's oh my god, there's like weaken. There you can get turned into stone via one of the enemies. That's kind of like a hydra.
Mhm.
Um, you can you can get shock damage. There's a couple.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
And let me see here. Uh, I think you mentioned briefly about boss encounters.
Yes, and the bottom of every single dungeon you will face a boss. So those are the main ones, as well as there are specific rooms that will have their own mini bosses, such as there's King Cheddar, for example, which is a massive rat king that you have to face that's surrounded by other rats. And once you defeat him, you get a special item.
Hmm. And now, like, do the boss encounters, like, okay, is there like one boss of Dungeon One, and or are there like maybe a couple of bosses you might fight depending on the run?
Yeah. So throughout it, the bosses will be placed. Actually, sometimes you can encounter King Cheddar on the third dungeon or the second. And you can encounter some of the ones that you would meet later on in the first dungeon. So it will mix up the more you play and the more dungeons that you complete.
Hmm. And does that escalate in difficulty, like as you complete dungeons?
So the more you play, you can unlock specific runes that will alter how your game plays, such as, you know, you can get double health, but there's no health pickups, or you lose one health per turn, but there's, you do X amount more damage, or there's no health pickups, but there's a butt ton more gold. Like, so there are altering things, as well as if you do reach the third level, uh there are these portals that will take you. It's kind of like a high risk, high reward type portals that you can go in, and it will take you to like a challenge level where there will be a lot harder enemies that you encounter, but if you do make it through it, you get, a substantial prize at the end,
Right.
as well as you just encounter the Wheel of Wonders, which, for the more gold that you have, the higher chance you can get a specific like relic.
And I'm sure the greater the risk, the greater reward there.
Yeah.
Like, and now we've talked quite a bit about like relics, and but do you get different outfits for your characters?
So yeah, there's actually gear and all of that that will innately affect how your character plays, such as, there's certain items that will deal poison damage, and there's certain um outfits that will increase like what your double jump does, such as your double jump will throw another poison dagger, so at that point you will deal more poison damage, or one of them will increase the radius of your smoke bomb. So there are different outfits that have specific abilities to them, and they're also tiered outfits.
Tiered how?
Tiered as in like you will get like a normal outfit, and then there'll be like a special outfit, and then there'll be like a rare outfit, so like different levels of like what they can do, how much health they give you, the bonus properties, stuff like that. So like typical like gear rating and gear score, and like we'll say like Borderlands or something, where it's like green, blue, purple, yellow, stuff like that.
I see. And will you encounter traps in these dungeons as well?
So there are specific things, such as if you look, there's this egg at the bottom right and left corner of the screen. If you hit them, you will get a lot of poison damage like attached to you, as well as if you encounter skeletons, every single skeleton that you kill, if there is a gravestone that hasn't been smashed, the skeleton starts possessing that gravestone. And if you hit that gravestone, you actually will get like a mana burn, and you'll lose mana per turn.
Hmm. And what sort of spells can you cast in Round Guard here?
So for the rogue, you have your double jump, you have smoke bomb, you have where you shoot an arrow, and I think I'm missing one, but for the barbarian, you have furious charge, you have killer joke, you have a spin attack, as well as you have gold rush. And gold rush increases every single pot you hit gives you gold. Spin attack, self-explanatory. Killer joke will deal an AOE damage, as well as if enemies are at a specific health range, they will get insta killed. And I think and furious charge will charge um, through like the pots and all that other type of stuff and hit the nearest enemy as well. And the wizard has wisps that will surround the player, in wisp that will uh, hit anything that comes in contact with. It has lightning, which if a bunch of enemies are hit, it will add various like lightning dots and stuff like that. So like damage over time, as well as you have the ability to like throw a frog at people, and there's a chance that you throw a golden frog, which gives you money. And I think I'm forgetting one more on the wizard. Um, oh, and then you have bubble, which
Ah,
you encase people in bubbles, and when you hit them, after three hits of the person encased in a bubble, they get dealt like X more damage.
I see. And you mentioned money here. Um, is the gold system like do you actually use that to purchase things, or is it just like score?
So yeah, that's your score.
Okay. And now, in terms of death, permadeath in Round Guard, what does that affect outside of like having to restart the dungeon again? Do you lose artifacts? Do you lose relics?
Yeah, so everything you collected within this run, uh if you were to get some trinkets that would like move over to the next run, you lose those. As well as you lose the quests you've completed, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So basically, you
About
have to
what
start over completely vanilla. And when you do start over, you won't start with double jump. Let's say you'll start with like the arrow move. So your
Mhm.
run can vary a lot.
About what I expected from something that was infused
Yeah.
with Row. And let me see. Uh, so this game is available for every major platform that
Yes.
including the Apple Arcade,
Yes, it's on Apple Arcade, it's on PlayStation, it's on Xbox, it's on Switch, it's on Steam. It's everywhere.
right? And I suppose my first question there is: are there any differences between any of the versions, or is it the same game on every platform?
It's the same game through every platform. Like on Xbox and PlayStation and PC, you can upgrade the resolution to 4K and the frame rate. Switch, it's portable. Such as Apple can be played on any Apple device.
Hmm.
So but it's the same experience throughout.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And in regards to the Apple Arcade version, what was it like dealing with Apple? Because and getting onto the arcade service, do you think that has helped the game on Apple devices?
Well, yes, getting on Apple was like something amazing that happened for the developer. They actually guy approached, I think, at PAX West by Apple to be put on their platform. And since Apple Arcade is generally a new like shop, basically, there were its ups and downs and things we figure out, but ultimately working with Apple was very, very interesting. It was cool because I haven't, and it's something that we enjoyed as a team. We learned a lot, and now we can say we can ship games on Apple Arcade.
Oh, that's good. And I suppose on the flip side of the coin, are there any plans to release Round Guard on Android?
So at this specific moment with Apple Arcade, um, since we are attached to that platform, we I don't think that we are going to launch it on Android anytime soon. But I would assume that that is a conversation that is being tossed around internally with the dev.
I could imagine.
Yeah,
Um, exclusivity contracts are what they are.
yeah.
And now, in terms of the PC or Steam version, is the game on Windows, or is it available on Mac and Linux as well?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Always good for having those platforms supported. And is this game available on GOG?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And let me see. So, what is upcoming with Round Garden in regards to patches? I see that a couple of major patches have already been released.
Yeah. I mean, we're patching the title, throughout. We're making sure that all bugs are fixed that we do find, on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. We're actively supporting the game, because we want the players that did buy it. I mean, that the main team is 3 people. So we wanted to make sure that, their game is sustained, it is helped, it can keep running well on all platforms, and it's given the time and effort that it deserves.
Oh, that's good. And from what I can see, the game has been out for about a month now.
Yeah.
How has it been performing in the marketplace?
Oh, it's been performing, pretty well. I mean, Apple Arcade, it has a lot of play time. It's doing pretty good on Switch. People on PlayStation, Xbox are enjoying it. On launch day, we had a lot of streamers. We still have streamers playing the game. We still have press outlets reaching out to review it and all that other type of stuff. So we are very happy with how it performed.
Well, that's good to hear. That's
Yeah.
always good to hear, considering the state of things. and just how product is available now.
Yeah,
So it's good that Roundguard's faring well.
it is.
Let me see
It's
here.
doing pretty well.
Before we move on, I'll see if my colleagues here have any final questions on Roundguard.
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
Twilight?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Anyway,
I'm good here.
all right. Yeah, but before we wrap up this interview, I can see that you actually, the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild has quite a few titles upcoming.
Yes.
So, if you could tell us briefly about some of these.
All right, perfect. Let me open all the ones that we are, making sure are coming. So we have our internal title, Freshly Frosted, which is the most adorable donut puzzle factory game you will ever play. It is a puzzle-based game where you have to make the perfect donut via topping machines. And there's a lot of puzzles. Our founder and our artist, as well as another engineer, are working on the title. It's a three-person crew, and they made it on Train Jam last year, which was an amazing experience. I recommend Train Jam to any dev or anyone that wants to experience, making games with minimal stuff. Um, and then we have Sailforth, which is being made by David Evans. It's a one-person crew, as well as someone is helping with the music. And that is a chill sailing adventure game with a very big homage to the Wind Waker sailing system. It has real water physics as well as real nautical physics, as well as that's also a rogue light. So there is, a branching path you can take. You can play the entire game just hanging out, sailing, taking pictures of animals like pelicans and dolphins, or you can go the route of building up like an armada of ships and attack the skull clan and go from there. As well as there'll be bosses. We recently showed the kraken that David has made, and we're pretty excited for that one. As well as we have Deleveled, which is a puzzle platformer with no jump button, where you play as two blocks that fall in opposite directions. So lots of physics-based puzzles and world turning, and that's a ridiculous puzzle game. As well as we have Fun Time, which think Geometry Wars but cranked to 11. A lot more explosions. There's EDM music. It's just an overall fun time. And then we have the Ambassador Fractured Timelines, which is a medieval sword twin stick shooter where you have the ability to stop time and you have to figure out who destroyed the sanctuary, the home of the ambassadors that keep time in check. And we also have Kerr, which is Duke Nukem meets Half-Life. It is a retro FPS, very fast paced. You are sent to a alien planet where you have to defeat the security system that's gone haywire, and all you want to do is get paid. As well as we recently announced Space Otter Charlie, which is being made by one of the ex PopCap like higher ups, and that is a cute puzzle platformer set in 0G. So another game that has no jump button. I mean, you jump, but gravity takes over, so you have to propel yourself around various mazes and worldly hazards with just your wits and a jetpack.
Sounds fun. Like,
Yes.
and yeah, that is quite a number of games that are upcoming. Like, and indeed, hopefully we'll be able to have you on the program once one or more of these titles are closer to fruition.
Okay. Anytime.
No problem. No problem. Anyway, but for now, the game is Round Guard. It's available for all major platforms, and it's selling for 19.99 USD. Be sure to pick it up today. And if you enjoyed tonight's interview, be sure to hit the subscribe button, click the bell, give us a cheer, and buy the bit. Anyway, Petty, play us to the next segment. All right. Welcome to the topic of discussion. I think he talked over the transition music.
It's fine.
Okay. Anyway, so this week we are talking about Final Fantasy VII, the remake. Like, not
That's
so much
the thing that happened.
Well, yeah, it's been a thing that's been in the process of happening for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, I'm like, but we're actually not here to talk about the game itself because, well, nobody here, as far as I understand, has Final Fantasy VII the remake yet.
I do.
Okay, but have you actually played it?
Yeah, I've played it some.
How much?
A few hours in.
No one here has finished it.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
point is, we're not having to talk about the game mechanics or the, it's more that the outcry, because Final Fantasy VII has been making waves, very huge, very angry waves, which is not unexpected.
Yeah, I was about to say Nomura's involved, so.
Well, yeah, not just Nomura is involved, but yeah, it's the age-old remake debate made fresh, this week because we just had this debate around Resident Evil 3, the remake.
Well, Resident Evil 3 was a remake, well, just like a regular remake. This is it's more like a reimagining.
And make no mistake, like it's closer than you think, because no, there has been significant rancor around Resident Evil 3. It's not so much what they put in; it's what they left out in that case. Now, people are mad that like the clock tower isn't in Resident Evil 3. And the core issue is change. Now, both remakes have been subjected to changes in one form or another, and that is ruffling feathers. It's just with Final Fantasy VII, the outcry much angrier because, well, Final Fantasy VII is a much more beloved game than Resident Evil 3 ever was or ever will.
It's probably one of the most beloved games, like, period.
So, at least among older generations at this point. But getting into Final Fantasy VII, the remake itself. Before we continue on with this discussion, we will need to have the spoiler warning thrown up there because we are going to have to delve into deep spoilers for this. Because in order to have a proper discussion, we have to talk about, the core changes that are pissing people off. Because, Final Fantasy VII has seen a lot of change, but a lot of that change is stuff you would naturally expect just from what this is in and of itself. Like, okay, Final Fantasy VII R is the opening hours of Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
All right, the spoiler warning thing's up.
Okay, good. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII R is, it's basically the entire game in Midgar. And, they've expanded this to be about the length of Final Fantasy VII was back in the day. Just going through the game. We're not talking about like 100%ing or going after the weapons or shit like that. Trust me, that took a lot longer.
No kidding.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy VII R has expanded the Midgard session into its own standalone game, essentially. So that means a lot of characters have been expanded. Like, probably the standout is Jesse. Like, Jesse's an actual character now that people give a shit about, as opposed to kind of random-ish Avalanche member that existed.
And Biggs and Wedge also get like, oh hey, they're more than just two NPCs whose names are a Star Wars joke.
Right.
Just they're not hot, or at least I guess some people think Biggs and Wedge are hot, but not as many people think they're hot, and they don't want Cloud really bad. So,
well, yeah, basically the second tier Avalanche people, they become actual characters because now there's time to have them as actual characters. Nobody's objecting to this kind of change, but this is a change nonetheless. This is I think people accept it as a natural consequence of this being part of the story. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, getting into what is upsetting people who have been playing Final Fantasy VII R, or people have actually been praising. Maybe not as many, but I've certainly seen it online. But okay, so
honestly, it's been going over better with a lot of people than I expected it would. But yeah, so
True.
the first part so far, while it has added a lot, has not changed that much. But
right.
they added a bunch of Kingdom Hearts spoopy ghosts, and then you have to fight them at the end, and then afterwards it's implying that afterwards more stuff might change.
Oh no. Like, from what we have been able to discern, it's not stuff may change, stuff will change.
Like, because multiverse.
Well, you know what I mean. It's just like the we don't know what's going to happen yet, but there is more changes coming than were in this part.
Well, no. This was no more throwing down the gauntlets. I'm like,
yep.
And saying, from what it's been gathered, like, no, this isn't going to be a faithful recreation of Final Fantasy VII. It's like they are not only going to change, they are going to change it. Like, and that is pissing people off because people were expecting a faithful recreation of Final Fantasy VII, or at least the portion of Final Fantasy VII that this was covering. And
I mean, an HD re-release of Final Fantasy VII would still be cool.
Right, but this, this is, to call it a remake, it's still accurate. Keep in mind, remakes change shit all the fucking time.
Indeed.
If you want the old game but just made more shiny, that's typically your remaster. And it's all right. As it is understood by me, the reason why we are getting this new version of Final Fantasy VII is because of the legacy of Final Fantasy VII. Apparently, Nomura did not want to feel constrained by the old version of Final Fantasy VII.
Which, like, of course.
Yeah.
That's very much his style of wanting to do his own thing, kind of.
Right. And
probably with more belts.
Of course. But yeah, the legacy of Final Fantasy VII is a very large one. And to recast that, it's not just going along. I'm actually kind of taking a wait and see approach because, okay, you want to do something new, fine. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's actually an acceptable thing to do with remakes.
Indeed.
Oh yeah,
It-
from here on, a lot depends on like what changes they actually make.
Right.
Yeah.
And to go back into Final Fantasy VII R itself, like one of the biggest changes, and why maybe not sticking slavishly to the script is a good thing, is the whole what is it, the honeybee segment? Like,
Down to the end.
yeah, the whole cloud in a dress portion of the game.
Oh yeah, the wall market.
This has been radically updated and reinterpreted to match with today's morality, because
Mhm.
quite frankly, that sequence, which was quote unquote fine for 1997, was not going to work in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's a lot. It's aged a lot poorer than you might think, especially
Yeah.
like the Muslim segment.
Almost
Mhm.
like sensibilities changed in 20 years.
Yeah, it's been more than 20 years, but you're not wrong. I mean, hell, Don Cornero himself has been massively updated. So he's shockingly less gross from what I've seen. That was kind of his defining characteristic in the old version.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's also, like a lot of, a lot less in the way of, say, gay jokes and, hey, look, cloud in a dress. Isn't that a laugh? As if it is a BBC comedy from the 80s. Like British comedies, they really like that man in a dress gag for a good long chunk of time. But that's kind of my point here. This is stuff that has been updated to reflect current trends. But the big question that Final Fantasy VII R faces is, well, what's next? Because the declaration of everything's going to go off the rails, so to speak. What does that mean? To it, okay, does this mean do you not kill Aerith
Mm-hmm.
this time around? I think that's
the big thing, because I mean, in the original timeline they couldn't change that, but in this thing they might be able to, and I think the game going forward from that point would have to be completely different and would uh, probably not be better if they don't do that. So I don't know. Honestly, I'm kind of hoping they have the possibility to have it, but that still ends up being the best way or something. I don't know.
I mean, keep in mind there are a lot of unknowns with Final Fantasy VII
Mhm.
the series, because just keep in mind in how much ground was covered in this one installment. It's just Midgard. Like,
Mhm.
we don't have an indication of what the next episode is going to be. How much ground that's going to cover. Are we going all the way up to, say, Nibelheim, or all the way up to the Golden Saucer? How much of Disc 1 is going to be crammed into. And this is kind of the reason why they backed off the claim of this is only going to be half the game, or they don't know how many episodes it's going to be, because just from an adaptational standpoint, this game is a fucking sliver of Final Fantasy VII. Even if it was faithfully transposed into the modern era, it's still the opening hours of Final Fantasy VII. So this is a fucking series that could be lasting a long time.
Yeah. I mean, how many
Mhm.
games it taken more to finally end the Darkseeker saga in Kingdom Hearts?
Good question. Like,
The important part of the answer is it's more than 3, which is the number.
Yeah.
because, as much as people would like to forget, there was the endless fucking spin-off period of Kingdom.
Yep.
Oh. And yeah, just like the death of Aerith is potentially like 3, 4, however many episodes away. Like that was what, the middle of disc 2, maybe a bit before. But
No, that was actually the end of disc 1.
yeah, there we go. It's been a while since I played Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation. I do have the PC version, but that
Mhm.
it's not split into discs.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I'm like end of disc 1. We still got a lot of territory where Final Fantasy R ended and where that is. So it's going to be interesting. Like, I think that is the one thing I can definitively say about this project going forward. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Mhm.
But I suppose that's kind of what you get with Nomura.
Mhm.
Like, it's not necessarily going to be good. Or it's going to make sense. Or
It's going to get wild. That's for certain.
yeah. It's just, please do not bring Organization fucking 13 into Final Fantasy 7. Or don't make the fucking Turks Organization 13.
Oh God.
Watching all the Final Fantasy VII fans go feral.
And for good reason. The Turks are
Mhm.
not they're not Organization 13. They're the fucking Turks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to say that Organization 13 is more, friggin' what's the word? Competent, but I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
All I'm
but-
saying is that while they have a pretty good introduction showing, they don't the bar to entry was apparently lower than it looks like it was. So,
Well, I mean, yeah, the Turks are the goofy mini boss squad, but once again, they're secondary antagonists at best.
Mhm.
Main antagonists, like, there's actually quite a few. It's not just Sephiroth and Genova, but you got Rufus Shinra, and also from Shinra, you've got Hojo, the fucking bastard who started all this, and you got Heidelgard. There were actually a lot of antagonists
Indeed.
in Final Fantasy VII, and of course there are the fucking weapons. Oh boy. I mean, how could you forget Emerald or Ruby weapon?
Indeed. Things created by the planet just to purge humanity, basically.
Specifically Midgard.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy VII was never subtle with its environmental messaging. Anyway, I think that'll about do it for this discussion. And yeah, that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. The week ahead, we do have a Friday show. On Friday, April 24th, we'll be having Tomas Rawlings of Auroch Digital. We will be talking about their game Mars Horizon, which is a strategy simulation type thing. Currently in, like, I think the alpha is done, and they're working on getting it into beta mode. More on that on Friday. And let me see here in terms of the Sunday reviews. This week we'll be having reviews of Trial of the Gods, Ceruleum CCG. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that word correctly, but it's one of those made-up fantasy words. So your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, as the name might entail, it is a collectible card game. Though it's not a collectible card game in the actual sense of the you don't buy this or you download the base game and you buy booster packs. No, this is basically a developer spin on Triple Triad. And really that's going to be the core of the review. Did you like Triple Triad? You'll probably like this game, but more on that on Sunday. Petty Fan will be reviewing Turmoil, a 19th century business simulation game. Galax will be handling Syrup and the Ultimate Suite for the Nintendo Switch, a Yuri-themed visual novel. And finally, we got All You Can Eat, a comic-styled adventure, point-and-click adventure game. So quite the diverse set happening this Sunday. So until Friday, I shall wish you good gaming.